This is the start of the Chaco Pueblo houses. Now look, if you look to your right, and this is Chaco Canyon. We are entering, and there you are right there. Do you see? This is Chacoan buildings, the very first ones. This is called Hungo Pavi. Okay. All of the shrubbery here is the greasewood that just covers this whole area, and that is what you make the adaptation, which is the stirring sticks with. And there is the arroyo where the waterway was. Look at these massive rocks. Here is another Chacoan Pueblo that we're coming to the right here. And Grandma's showing you, trying to stay out of the wind. Okay, do you see? Look at that. Beautiful. Those are the Chacoan Pueblos. And I don't know exactly which one this is. Usually they have signs. And see all along, and then you see right there. Look at that. That's quite a ways. And see, you can see that right there. You cannot pick this greasewood. This is all national park, so even though you make stirring sticks out of it, you can actually get in trouble. Here we go. If you can tell, that is Pueblo Bonito over yonder, and we are turning. I wish you could come here and see this. This is Navajo Grandma. Now I am in what you call the Chaco National Park, and behind me are the Chaco Pueblo buildings. And this is not the Great Pueblo Bonito, but this is another area. And I want to define where that's at. It's located in northwestern New Mexico, and it's mainly a remote canyon cut by the Chaco Wash, containing the most sweeping collections of ancient ruins north of Mexico. Now, the park preserves one of the most pre-Columbian cultural and historical areas in the United States. And between AD and 900 AD and 1150 AD, Chaco Canyon was a major center of culture for the ancestral Pueblos. They quarried sandstone blocks, which you can see, and they hauled timber. Now, if you can see, there's some timber. You can, up there, you can actually see the jutted timber. And they quarried these, and then they hauled the timber from great distances. And the Chusca Mountains are west of me. I'm facing north. And basically they assembled 15 major complexes that remained the largest buildings ever built in North America until the 19th century. Now, we have evidence of archaeoastronomy at Chaco, and that is to the southeast of Grandma, and that is called Fajada Butte. And basically it has been proposed that the sun dagger, which is the round circles that I will show you, they are the petroglyphs on Fajada Butte, at Fajada Butte, and it's a popular example. Fajada Butte that you see in the middle there, and it also tells you about the ancient astronomers. And when you climb up to the butte, basically they have the spirals and different ways of the sun, how they use the sun, and all of these different to show the months, when the winter solstice, if you remember that, the autumn equinox and the summer solstice, and how it played a part. And that is all at the tip top of this butte. And I'm going to show this to you right here. It says the Sun Dagger site atop Fajada Butte. And the sad part of this whole thing is that someone came and destroyed and moved those rocks. This is the way it used to be. It is now closed to all access, but it's an absolutely wonderful thing. My grandfather climbed that when I was born to determine the day that I was born, September 22nd. The Chacoan buildings were aligned to capture the solar and lunar cycles, requiring generations of astronomical observations and centuries of skillfully coordinated construction. 76 or 1299 CE, there was a drought, and it forced these pueblos to migrate southeast to the Rio Grande Valley and in different areas. Okay, and around 12,000 BC, there was a warming. They were saying that the Athabascans and whatnot, that they believed that the ice had melted, and you know where the Bering Strait is, basically, that's where, they're saying that the Native American people crossed that Bering Strait, and that's how we got here. And that is totally false, I'm sorry to say. And then, as the timeline continues, you have back in 4th of May, 1493, there were things happening in the Spanish government, and Pope Alexander VI was born Roderick de Borgia in Valencia. He issues what is called a papal bull inter se terra, and it splits the non-Christian world into two halves. First, the eastern half belonged to the King of Portugal for his explorations and conquests, for conversion and exploitation. The second western half, including North America, goes to the Queen of Castile and the King of Aragon for their exploration, conquest, and a conversion, and basically the western lands, anything west, across the ocean, wherever, without special license from the rulers of Spain. And so, meanwhile, while all this is going on in Spain, we have, there's the indigenous people here in North America. They have no idea that these people in Spain existed. And so then, in 12 October 1492, you know some of the story. There's Genesee seaman called Christopher Colombo, who is Christopher Columbus. He was leading an expedition for Queen Elizabeth of Castile lands, to the lands on the Lacayan island called Guanahana, and he renames that San Salvador. Now this begins the Spanish conquest of the Americas, okay? Then in 1540, and I'm giving you this timeline, you need to understand this to understand my grandfather. Coronado was searching for the 7 cities of Cibola, which is gold. He brought in the first Navajo, or the Navajo Chudo sheep, which Grandma does the wool, remember the spinning with, and they brought the sheep, the Chudo sheep, here to North America from Spain. And basically, the Dene people were in existence at that time here in the San Juan Basin, because they have records stating that they traded with them and they gave them the sheep. Then, basically, what I want you to understand, now that was kind of a little timeline. There's all kinds of things going on, before my grandfather. History unfolds. The development of the Indian services, off-reservation settlements and land allotments that I have and other people have in this eastern agency. Now you have to go halfway across New Mexico, and on the other side, the Navajo Nation starts there. There's a gap between us. And they call this area the Eastern Agency. And that was basically, they called it off-reservation. it was not helpful, because a lot of the people were, the government was trying to help the Navajo Nation, and the off reservation, which is the Eastern Agency, were looked down upon because they weren't in the heart of the Navajo Nation. So a lot of stuff was going on. And now basically, I'm quoting something that I read in a book. It says, now the Dene are threatened and their way of life due to energy-related development in the San Juan Basin. Anyways, in order to understand what happened here, the archaeologists basically they started talking to the Dene people, the grandparents and everybody. Also, they used the earliest historical records of the canyon. Basically, the Navajo culture was confronting and adapting to the intrusion of the white men in the San Juan Basin, and I'll get to that. They also worked with the chronologies of the stockmen, Indian agents, homesteaders, land surveyors, archaeologists related to Chaco Canyon. Now, then there was the Wetherill era, which my grandfather helped in, basically in excavating Chaco Canyon. So there was cause and effects like hardships here. They encountered harsh winters. There was a lot of discrimination. The white, like I said, the stockmen and the stockmen and the ranchers were starting to butt heads with the Navajos. There were stock reductions that were happening, really horrible. The white people just coming, willy-nilly they'd set up a ranch, and they'd blame, if they had sheep, they would blame the Navajos, the Dene people, for having a disease, which they in essence brought. And they would started dipping the sheep and making the Dene people pay for this, whereas they were just getting, I guess, government help. And it was horrible. Then there was the flu epidemic, the 1919 flu epidemic, and the whiskey problem in Pueblo Pintado, which is east from here, basically where my grandfather landed. There was a man who set up a distillery, and he started giving, trading jewelry or whatever for whiskey, giving the Navajos, the Dene people, the men, these alcohol. And therefore, guess what? Violence was started to be documented.